Michael lived in silence, the kind of silence that grew teeth. His neighbors were gone most nights. His phone never lit up, and the only voices he heard came from podcasts or the endless drone of YouTube playlists. At 32, he had grown used to being invisible, though some nights the weight of that invisibility felt unbearable. That night, at 12:09 a.m., his phone rang. The screen glowed with 2 words, "Unknown number." Michael frowned. Nobody ever called. His chest ticked with something between excitement and dread as he swiped. "Hello?" Static. Then a woman's voice, quiet and embarrassed. "Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong number." She started to hang up, but something made him speak. "Wait, it's fine." There was a pause. He could hear her breathing, thin and trembling. "You're up late," she said softly. "Yeah," he replied, his throat dry. "Can't sleep." "Me neither." She hesitated, then almost shyly. "Do you mind if we talk for a minute? It's lonely, you know." Michael should have ended the call, but her voice carried the same hollow ache he felt every night. Loneliness, recognizing loneliness. "Sure," he said. They talked, awkward at first, then easier. Favorite movies, nightmares that stuck with them, the way time seemed to stretch and warp when you were awake at ungodly hours. She laughed at his jokes, though her laugh was brittle, like glass about to shatter. Then she said something that made his skin prickle. "You always eat ramen at night, don't you? With too much soy sauce." Michael froze. "How do you know that?" "You told me," she said smoothly. But he hadn't. Minutes later, she slipped again. "It's better than those energy drinks you hide under the bed. They make your chest hurt." Michael's pulse hammered. No one knew about that. Not his family, not even his coworkers. He had felt the tight pain in his ribs some nights, convinced he'd given himself a heart condition, but he'd never said a word aloud. "Who is this?" he demanded. "Just someone who needed to hear your voice," she whispered, "like you needed to hear mine." Static swelled, filling the pauses with wet, sucking sounds. "I remember your 8th birthday party," she murmured. "No one came, did they? Just your mother, with a cake that sagged in the middle. You cried when she sang too slow." Michael staggered back from his desk. His scalp crawled cold. That memory, he'd never told a soul. "You. How? You keep your curtains shut even though you're on the 3rd floor, because you're afraid people might watch you while you sleep." His eyes darted to the blinds. Every slat looked like a narrow lid, barely containing 1,000 staring eyes. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You're right to be afraid." Michael's stomach twisted. His breaths came too fast. "What do you want?" "I told you. Warmth. I've been cold for so long." Her words bent and cracked, warped like magnetic tape. "I can smell your sweat," she breathed. "I can hear your heartbeat through the phone. Do you know how long it's been since I tasted something alive?" Michael bolted for the front door, deadbolt slamming shut, hands trembling as he checked every latch. The apartment seemed to close in around him. Then she recited his full name, his middle name, his social security number. Michael dropped the phone, but the voice didn't stop. It bled through the television, the speakers, even the dull hum of the ceiling fan. "Don't run, Michael. I know where you are. I'm already in the dark corners. I've always been." The air turned sour, metallic. The smell of raw meat left too long in the sun. On the carpet, the phone lit up. Incoming call. Unknown number. His screen flickered. In the black reflection of the monitor, he saw her, a thin figure, pale skin split with deep cracks, mouth torn ear to ear, lips peeling away to show teeth like wet glass. Her voice wasn't in the phone anymore. It was right behind his ear. I didn't mean to call you Michael, but I was always meant to find you. Something cold and slick brushed his neck. He turned, too slow. The last thing Michael saw was her mouth unhinging, jaw breaking wider than a human skull should allow. Rows of black teeth glistening. The lights snapped off. His scream gurgled, choked halfway as if swallowed. The phone lay glowing on the floor long after the apartment fell silent, the call still connected. From the speaker, the woman's voice sighed with satisfaction. Warm. Eliza Harkness had never liked the silence, but she'd grown used to it, like you get used to a bad hip or a neighbor's barking dog. You don't like it, but you live with it. It had been a year since James's death, a year since she found him face down among the tomato vines, a garden hose trickling over his slack hand. The paramedics tried, the doctors tried, but she knew from the way his eyes stared skyward that James was already gone before the sirens ever came. Since then, the house on Beechwood Lane had felt more like a waiting room than a home. Empty, sterile, full of bad magazines and worse lighting. At 12:30 in the morning, the phone rang. It startled her so bad she spilled her tea. The landline, her husband's real phone, the one he insisted on keeping even when everyone else had gone to sell. Nobody called her on it anymore. She lifted the receiver with trembling fingers. Hello? Eliza. Her heart seized. The voice was smooth, warm, familiar. James? Yes. The world tilted. She gripped the armrest hard, nails digging into fabric. That's not... I know, James said, gentle as ever, but I missed you. I had to hear your voice again for a moment. God help her. Relief bloomed in her chest. He asked her about the garden, about her health, about the old Buick that hadn't started in months. His tone was so natural, she almost forgot what she knew. He had been buried in Fairview Cemetery for a year. Then his voice changed. You sound hollow, he said, low and slow, like you've been starving yourself. I can hear it in your bones, rattling around inside you. Eliza froze. I wonder what you taste like now, James went on, words slurring wetly. I dream about it, your tongue between my teeth, your ribs cracking in my hands. You'd fill me up again. You'd make me warm. She screamed and slammed the phone down, but the click didn't stop his voice. It poured through the handset, through the walls. I'm hungry, Eliza, and I'll call again. The line went dead. She sat in the dark, sobbing, waiting for morning. Night 2. The hunger. She didn't answer when the phone rang the next night. It rang once, twice, then fell silent. She thought that was the end of it, until the smell crept in. Damp earth, rotting leaves, worm-wet soil. It seeped from the phone, filled the living room, clung to her hair and clothes. The phone rang again. This time she picked it up just to make it stop. Don't hang up, James said. His tone was amused, playful. We've only just begun. Her voice cracked. Why are you doing this? I told you. I'm hungry. The ground is cold, Eliza. So very cold. Worms don't satisfy. They don't scream. He laughed, a bubbling, sucking sound. That night she swore she heard footsteps in the hall. Heavy, dragging. She locked her bedroom door but didn't sleep. Night 3. The return. By the third night she'd packed a bag, planned to leave, but the phone rang before she could go. Eliza, James crooned. Don't run. You can't run from the grave. She backed toward the door, bag in hand, when the lights flickered out. The smell came first, thick and choking. Then the sound of earth spilling, like a grave being dug in her living room. And then he stepped from the hallway. James, or what was left. His skin bloated, his lips torn, eyes black pits. He smiled, teeth long and jagged. "See," he rasped, "I came back for you. You'll keep me full." She dropped the bag, screamed, tried to run, but James was faster, his jaw unhinged, impossibly wide. Shadows spilled out, wrapping around her limbs, dragging her down. Her last scream was swallowed with her body. When the silence returned, the phone clicked softly. The line went dead. "17-year-old Ryan Foster kept his world small. The far-left desk in algebra where the buzz of the light masked whispers. The back corner of the cafeteria where no one would jostle his tray. The narrow route home that let him avoid the football field. He measured safety in inches, distance between his body and a thrown shoulder. A spitball, a word that hooked under the skin and dragged. He had a face that apologized for existing. Wire frames too large, hair cut at home by a distracted mother, lips that trembled when he had to speak in class. He was brilliant, and it didn't help. Test scores were a private currency that bought him nothing. The jocks called him Radio because he muttered facts under his breath when panicked. Even the teachers seemed exhausted by him. When he raised his hand, they sighed. Home was a different geometry of shame. His father's voice was a square jaw. Everything needed to be straightened, squared, fixed. "Stand up, son. Look people in the eye. You flinch like a kicked dog," his mother wore quiet like perfume. "Just get through high school," she said, staring into the sink, as if the drain could swallow the conversation. His little brother Nick collected phrases from the big kids and threw them like pebbles. Freak, maggot, try not to exist so loudly. On Friday, after a day like all the others, Ryan retreated to his room. A stack of old fantasy paperbacks leaned like ruined towers. His computer screen glowed, the only light. He opened a blank campaign document. In his imagination, he could control the world. He could set the rules. He could make justice. The landline rang. The beige phone in the upstairs hall had been dead for years in any meaningful sense. Telemarketers, wrong numbers, the occasional call from an aunt. It rang again. Again. Each bell felt like a nail tapped into his spine. He opened the door. The hall was a tunnel with one pale coin of light in the kitchen far away. The phone rang, and he lifted the receiver. Hello. Static first, like breath pressed against teeth. Then a voice slid through, deep and smooth harp strings drawn across razor wire. Ryan. He tried to clear his throat. Who is this? You know me, the voice said, amused and patient. You've mouthed my name without daring to say it. You've prayed to nothing and hoped I'd answer. I don't. The voice hummed softly, a lullaby in reverse. Locker 318. You tasted blood this morning. The metal was very cold, Ryan's mouth filled with memory. The sharp iron from the locker he'd slammed against, the cut inside his lip, the way he'd swallowed the sting so no one would see. Who are you? He whispered. I am the breath behind every closed door, the voice said. I am the answer to a question no one will ask you. I am the one who speaks when the line should be dead. He was going to hang up. He didn't. What do you want from me? Not a thing. I'm calling because you called first, the voice said, almost tender. You asked for power. You asked for an end. I can help. Tonight you begin. All you must do is answer when I ring. The line clicked dead. Ryan stood in the quiet and listened to the blood beat its fists against his skull. He dreamed of fire that night, yes, but there was something subtler beneath it, like a whisper heard through a wall. He dreamed of a field of telephone poles stretching into a black horizon, each with a body nailed to it, each body silent, each pole humming with a barely audible tone that matched his pulse. He woke with teeth aching. Morning brought small wrongnesses. His cut lip had healed, the skin too smooth, not even a thin white scar. His nails were darker at the beds, as if ink had seeped into them. When he spoke, his voice carried a new bass that startled him. Puberty, I guess. Nick snorted over cereal. Finally. Their mother frowned, put a hand to Ryan's forehead, then snatched it away as if burned. "You're cold." "I'm fine," he said, and was surprised at the way the word filled the kitchen. At school, the day sharpened like a blade. Trent Daniels waited by Ryan's locker, flanked by 2 satellites. "Hey, radio," he said, knocking on the metal like a coffin lid. "Static today? Or can you pick up stations?" Ryan opened his locker. The devil's voice. He didn't want to call it that, but every other name felt like a lie, threaded the edges of ordinary sound. "Count to 7, it suggested, conversationally. "Calm is a rhythm, not a feeling." Ryan counted. On 6, Trent shoved him. On 7, the locker door swung and smashed Trent's knuckles. A coincidence. Trent yelped and glared, but something in Ryan's gaze, he had not meant to do it, held him still for a heartbeat too long. Then the bell rang, and the hall spat everyone into classrooms. The day passed in a fever of almosts. Twice Ryan caught his reflection in a window smiling when he was not. At lunch, he tasted the tang of battery on his tongue and found the taste beautiful. He fell asleep in English and dreamed of a phone lodged in his chest, its cord running up his throat. That night, the landline rang at exactly 2:03 a.m. The red LED of the microwave clock made the kitchen feel like a dark room. He answered immediately. "Good," the voice said. "You learn." "What are you doing to me?" Ryan asked. His jaw clicked. The bones felt loose, capable. "I am giving you what you were promised," the voice said. "Let's start small." "Open your mouth." He did. The air tasted like pennies. "Wider," the voice said. He opened until it hurt, then opened past hurt, into a slack, merciful ache. He could feel hinges in the wrong places, new seams. He closed his mouth and something settled inside him like a chair pushed neatly under a table. "Tomorrow," the voice said, gentling, "you'll be hungry. That hunger is a bridge. Cross it, and you will never be weak again." He slept with the receiver still in his hand. Hunger arrived as promised. It was not for food. Bread tasted like damp paper, meat like foam. He craved something heavy, something that pushed back. He watched his family move through the day and felt an awful pressure behind his teeth. In the evening, Nick wandered into Ryan's room without knocking, picked up a notebook, and read aloud in a theatrical whine. "The paladin draws his blade. Oh my God, you are the most embarrassing person alive." He laughed. "Trent is right. Radio, static nothing." "Give it back," Ryan said. Nick held the notebook higher, smirking. "Make me." The phone inside Ryan rang, quiet as a heartbeat. "Feed," the voice recommended. Time didn't slow. It narrowed. Ryan moved, and his hands were not hands. His jaw opened wrong, lovingly wrong. The sound Nick made was a swallow that never finished. Ryan's hunger met its answer and wrote a new alphabet across the floor. When he was done, he felt taller in the mirror. His eyes had a coal's memory of fire. His skin took light and refused to give it back. The voice hummed approval. "Parents," it said, as if reading a grocery list. His mother was at the sink. She turned when he entered, kindness and worry fighting on her face. And then she saw, truly saw, and all her expressions fell through a trap door. "Ryan," she whispered. He wanted to say, "It's me." He wanted to say, "I'm sorry." Instead, the hunger answered for him. His father grabbed a bat from the hall closet, of course he did, and shouted something about calling the police. The bat struck Ryan's shoulder and bounced, an insult to physics. It was almost funny, and then it was not funny at all. After, the house was very quiet. The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere, a faucet dripped. Ryan stood in the kitchen until the devil's voice returned, soft as lint. "You have graduated this room. Shall we collect your diploma?" The bullies were at the 7-Eleven, as they always were, orbiting caffeine and nicotine and the thrill of having nowhere to be. The parking lot sodium lights drew pale halos on the asphalt. Ryan walked into that light and felt it bend. His shadow stretched like a mouth yawning. Trent saw him first. "Oh, look," he said, through a laugh that died mid-birth. Radio crawled out of his, "What is wrong with your face?" Ryan smiled. His mouth did not stop where human mouths stop. The scream that followed had 3 parts: surprise, denial, comprehension. And then the parking lot became a red geometry lesson. Shoes without feet in them. Hands last used to shove, now empty. A phone skittered under a car and kept ringing, though nothing called it. He did not need to chase them. The lot drew them back the way dreams draw you to the worst door. When it was done, Dawn showed up late and tried to wash the scene. Ryan stood breathing fog. He looked into a puddle and saw no boy at all, only a shape carved out of hunger and given a name to wear like a mask. He felt neither guilt nor triumph. He felt complete. Far off, sirens coughed to life. The voice was satisfied but not smug. "Your old life will try to call you," it said. "It will use lights and uniforms and paperwork." "Let it ring, what am I now?" Ryan asked. "A promise kept," the voice said. "A door opened. A lesson learned. And, if you choose, a caller." Ryan walked away before the first cruiser arrived. The world felt thinner, easier to push through. In the quiet between streetlights, he saw other houses with other landlines, beige and forgotten, patient as traps. He thought of the yearbook, page after page of kids who pretended not to hear themselves breaking. He could dial. He could answer when they couldn't. He could be the voice that offered a bridge. The phone inside him rang once, twice, the tone now perfectly clear. He smiled, and the night smiled back with him, and somewhere in the sleeping grid of the town, a forgotten phone began to ring.